Good morning. Today, as we celebrate Mother's Day, we have a good message from God out of Isaiah. We're going to be in Isaiah 41 if you want to turn over that way. But for some today, it is indeed a time of celebration for the wonderful mothers that we have. I dare say mine's the best, and if you think otherwise, you're wrong. But there are others who are mourning today, mourning because they lost their mother, perhaps a short while ago or a long while ago. Perhaps mourning because they would like to be a mother, but they aren't yet or can't be, or maybe they were for a short time and lost that child. So today can be joyful and sad, depending on your situation. Now, of course, I don't know about motherhood. I'm not a mother, nor can I be. But I've heard and seen some things that make me think that it's a rather tiring and sometimes could be thankless calling, but it is a holy calling. And so whether you are a mother, if you want to be a mother, you're missing a mother, or if there's something else in your life perhaps going on that you're struggling with, Isaiah 41 has this wonderful message for us, and it is, "Do not fear, for I am with you." So whether you're on cloud 9 or in the valley of the shadow of death, know that He is with you. Let's start with Isaiah 41, 1 through 4. Coastlands, listen to me in silence, and let the peoples gain new power. Let them come forward, then let them speak. Let us draw near together for judgment. Who has awakened one from the east, whom he calls in righteousness to his feet? He gives up nations before him and has dominion over kings. He makes them like dust with his sword, as the wind-driven chaff with his bow. He pursues them, passing on in peace. By a way he had not come with his feet. Who has worked and done it, calling forth the generations from the beginning? I, Yahweh, am the first, and with the last I am He. Verse 1 is basically God calling for order in the court. Let the world be silent while God and His people speak. And then God starts to list off some evidences that He truly is God, and the other so-called gods and goddesses are not. And that's why He is really the only one who can truly be with us. Who has awakened one from the east whom He calls in righteousness to His feet? Well, the answer is God, of course. We see here that God is in control of the nations. He raises them up. He tears them down. He uses them for His purposes. In the case of Isaiah and his audience, which would be the people of the southern kingdom of Judah, God is referring to a leader that He's going to bring to conquer Babylon. Right? Babylon is on the way to conquer Judah so that He can refine them. But He will have someone else conquer Babylon. And that person is Cyrus, whom He will later on in Isaiah name by name. And Cyrus is one to whom God will give much power and land. But this message, it's for all of God's people, not just those of Isaiah's day. We know this because in verse 4, it says, "Who has worked and done it, calling forth the generations from beginning?" God. And He directly answers that, "I, Yahweh, am the first, and with the last I am He." The "with the last" part kind of sounded odd to me, but I looked at it, and it is a correct translation. God is saying He's been around since the first humans, right? Since before He created the first humans. And He will be around with the last humans when He comes back. Unlike the false gods and goddesses, they were created by humans at a certain point in time, and while they may have lasted for thousands of years, that's a rather short time period compared to Yahweh. I don't know of anybody who still worships Zeus or Odin, or I had somebody tell me they still worship the Egyptian gods, but I have doubts about that. But you know what these gods and goddesses would do to sound godly in their stories, which are made up by humans, by the way? They would talk about things with the cycles of nature, right? The dying and rising God motif over and over and over again, not like ours who died once and rose once. or the monsters that they would slay in their mythologies. Not Yahweh, not our God. No, he predicts the future. More accurately, he tells us what he's going to do in the future. That's how he shows he's God. Let's read on a little bit further here, verses 5 to 7. The coastlands have seen and are afraid. The ends of the earth tremble. They have drawn near and have come. Each one helps his neighbor and says to his brother, "Be strong." So the craftsman strengthens the smelter, and he who smooths metal with the hammer strengthens him who beats the anvil, saying of the soldering, "It is good." And he strengthens it with nails, so that it will not be shaken. Here we see that those who are not Yahweh's, are not God's, they have to comfort each other. They can't find comfort any other way. They need this validation from each other. And why is that? It's because they don't know God, the true God of history, the true God, period, for that matter. They make false gods and goddesses, and they try to make greater gods and goddesses than the ones that they had or the ones of their neighbors. But these false gods and goddesses cannot comfort their people. Only our God can and does comfort his. The craftsman listed here, well, the craftsman strengthens the smelter, the smoother of metal strengthens the beater of the anvil. These are people that make idols. They can make other things too. But this is kind of talking about the process of actually making an idol, crafting it, smelting it, beating it. And they make their false gods, and then they say, "It is good." Back in Genesis, God said, "It is good," several times, and on the sixth day he said, "It is very good." Mankind tries to emulate God in ways that they should not try to emulate him. Let's continue on a little bit, verses 8 to 16. "But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, seed of Abraham, my friend, you whom I have strongly taken hold of from the ends of the earth and called from its remotest parts, and said to you, 'You are my servant. I have chosen you and not rejected you.' Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will make you mighty. Surely I will help you. Surely I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Behold, all those who are angered at you will be shamed and dishonored. Those who contend with you will be as nothing and will perish. You will seek those who quarrel with you, but will not find them. Those who war with you will be as nothing and non-existent. For I am Yahweh your God, who strongly takes hold of your right hand, who says to you, 'Do not fear, I will help you.' Do not fear, you worm Jacob, you men of Israel, I will help you, declares Yahweh. And your Redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I have made you a new sharp threshing sledge with double edges. You will thresh the mountains and pulverize them, and will make the hills like chaff. You will winnow them, and the wind will carry them away, and the storm will scatter them. But you will rejoice in Yahweh. You will boast in the Holy One of Israel." Unlike the false gods and goddesses, Yahweh actually helps his people. He's actually with them. The other gods and goddesses, well, they're fashioned by humans, but Yahweh fashioned Israel. He fashions humanity, but here specifically he's talking about fashioning Israel. He chose Israel, starting with Abraham, his friend. There's no higher honor than to be called God's friend. He called Abraham out of a polytheistic culture, called him to leave that country, to leave his family, to go to a land that he would show him. And he protected Abraham and Sarah from two different monarchs who tried to take Sarah as their wife. We could talk about Abraham's half-lie later if you'd like. God opened Sarah's barren womb to give them Isaac. Sarah, Rebekah, and Rachel were all barren before God opened their womb and gave them children. Now, I can't promise that for anyone who is experiencing that. That's above my pay grade. But miracles can happen for God's purposes. He then sent Joseph ahead of his brothers and father into Egypt so that Joseph could become powerful and store up enough grain to feed the whole world for 7 years of famine. Then hundreds of years passed, and Israel was oppressed in Egypt, and God heard their cry, and using Moses, he brought them out of Egypt. He led them through the wilderness, which we're reading about on Wednesday nights. We're adding in some Psalms too every now and again if you want to come hear about those. He conquered some of the promised land for them and helped them conquer the rest of it. He then gave them a king, even though he knew it would not be good for them, and he told them it would not be good for them. And he gave them a bad king so they could experience that. Through all of this, he was molding them and shaping them, just as he molds and shapes us. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be anxious, for I am your God. There is nothing for us to worry about. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand, and I am Yahweh your God, who strongly takes hold of your right hand. Moms and dads hold the hand of their children, do they not? And the child feels safe when they're holding their parents' hands, don't they? It's interesting, a child may pull themselves up, but they won't necessarily walk for a little bit at least. But if the parent grabs their hands, then they walk, because they feel safe and steady enough to do so. God is their Redeemer. This is the first time Isaiah uses the word Redeemer. He is also our Redeemer. He does protect his people, which is what he's talking about here. That doesn't mean that we won't go through some hard times. On the contrary, we do. But when we do, he's there with us, helping us, guiding us through it. Sometimes he may take us directly out of it. Sometimes he may not. I've mentioned a little bit before about my suicidal past. And in those moments, I'm glad God just yanked me out of it instead of getting me through it. But sometimes we're going through a hard thing and we just have to bear and grin it and know he's there to help us limp along if we need it. When God calls Jacob a worm, he's not denigrating Jacob. Jacob being another name for Israel, of course. He's merely stating the fact that Israel was small back then and still is today, especially compared to some of its neighbors, especially compared to us. Don't quote me on this, but I think the state of Israel is maybe the size of New Jersey, give or take. Yet, Israel does not have to worry about anyone. Oh, they're going to be disciplined and refined by Babylon coming in, but God will bring them back. We talked about that last week. But they really don't have to worry. Like them, we go through hard times. We will go through hard times, but we'll be okay. And if you think about it, this is kind of God showing us tough love. And tough love is something that parents sometimes have to do. I'm grateful for the tough love that my mom has shown me throughout the years. And in the end, we will, like they, rejoice in Yahweh. We'll boast in the Holy One of Israel. Let's continue on in verses 17 to 20. The afflicted and needy are seeking water, but there is none, and their tongue is parched with thirst. I, Yahweh, will answer them myself. As the God of Israel, I will not forsake them. I will open rivers on the bare heights and springs in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water and the dry land fountains of water. I will put the cedar in the wilderness, the acacia and the myrtle and the olive tree. I will place the juniper in the desert, together with the box tree and the cypress, that they may see and know and establish and gain insight as well, that the hand of Yahweh has done this and the Holy One of Israel has created it. Now here God is talking about nature, but it's not the cycle of nature. Right? The cycle of nature, the water evaporates, it becomes clouds, it rains, it goes back into the rivers and the oceans. That's not what God is talking about. God's talking about something that's impossible from a natural standpoint. God transforms wildernesses into rivers, deserts into gardens, and barren places into places of abundance. After all, he created it, he can recreate it. But it's not something that the other gods and goddesses could do. And it's something that, even with our great technology of irrigation and whatnot, have a hard time doing, though people are trying to do it with the deserts, trying to make them green again. Then we have God turning his attention to the idols in this next section. So let's go ahead and read verses 21 to 29. Bring near your case, Yahweh says. bring forward your mighty arguments, the King of Jacob says. Let them bring it forth and declare to us what is going to take place. As for the former events, declare what they were, that we may establish our heart on them and know their outcome. Or cause us to hear what is coming. Declare the things that are to come afterward, that we may know that you are gods. Indeed, do good or evil, that we may anxiously look about us in fear together. Behold, you are nothing, and your work is non-existent. He who chooses you is an abomination. I have awakened one from the north. He has come. From the rising of the sun, he will call on my name, and he will come upon officials as upon mortar, even as the potter treads clay. Who has declared this from the beginning, that we might know? Or from former times, that we may say, he is right? Surely there was no one there who declared. Surely there was no one who caused those words to be heard. Surely there was no one who heard your words. Formerly I said to Zion, behold, here they are, and to Jerusalem I will give a messenger of good news. But I look, and there is no one, and there is no counselor among them, who if I ask can respond with a word. Behold, all of them are false. Their works are non-existent. Their molten images are wind and utter formlessness. Can these idols prove that they are gods? Can they tell us what happened and why it happened? No. Can they tell us what is going to happen? No. Can they do anything to make us fear and tremble? Well, demons are pretty scary, though Christians don't really have anything to worry about. And they don't scare God, that's for sure. He fears no one and nothing. And therefore, if he is for us, who can stand against us? He says, behold, you are nothing, and your work is non-existent. He who chooses you is an abomination. And why is that? Well, because the one who chooses them is choosing something false. They believe in something false. They believe in nothing. But Yahweh, he is in control. He calls the one from the north, the one who will call on him all day long. He told us what is going to happen before it happens. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned a little while ago, he calls Cyrus by name. If I remember correctly, that's in chapter 45. This is over 150 years before Cyrus is even born. And that's why people think that parts of Isaiah must have been written after Cyrus, because you can't have prophecy. No, I think you can, especially when you have the right God. And that's precisely why God uses it to prove he's God. And he gives good news that he is with his people. The false idols, like those monkeys, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Well, they hear nothing, they see nothing, and they say nothing because they are nothing. They're non-existent. They're wind, they're formless. And we see God protecting his people in various ways in the Bible. We talked a little bit about what he did with Abraham and Sarah and Joseph and them. One of my favorites, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I wish we used their Hebrew names more, but we don't. But they stood before Nebuchadnezzar. Right? Nebuchadnezzar had built this mighty statue and said, when the instruments play, bow down and worship it. And those three guys said, no, not going to do it. He gave them a second chance, and they said, no. They said, well, who can save you from me? I'm all powerful. I'm Nebuchadnezzar. I'm paraphrasing there, but you get the idea. They said, oh, Nebuchadnezzar, our God can save us, but even if he won't, we're not going to do what you want us to do. So go ahead and throw us in the furnace. And he did. His own guards died when they threw them in the furnace because it was so hot. But then he looked into that furnace. I threw 3 men in there, right? Why is there a fourth one? And why does he look like one of the sons of God? They walked out, the three of them, the fourth one, who knows where he went. The ropes had burned off, but their clothes were fine. They didn't even smell of smoke. It's amazing what God can do for his people. Paul and Silas were in prison in Acts. At midnight they were singing and praying. An earthquake came. It opened the doors. It broke open their shackles. They stayed put and saved the jailer's life in so doing. Peter was also in prison, and an angel went and took him out of prison, walked him right on out. So God saves people in different ways for different reasons. Let's go a little further today. Isaiah 42, 1 through 9. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one in whom my soul is well pleased. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the nations. He will not cry out or raise his voice, nor make his voice heard in the street. A crushed reed he will not break, and a faintly burning wick he will not extinguish. He will bring forth justice and truth. He will not be faint or crushed, until he has established justice in the earth, and the coastlands will wait expectantly for his laws. Thus says the God Yahweh, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread out the earth and its offspring, who gives breath to the people on it, and spirit to those who walk in it. I am Yahweh. I have called you in righteousness. I will also take hold of you by the hand and guard you. And I will give you as a covenant to the people, as a light to the nations, to open blind eyes, to bring out prisoners from the dungeon, and those who inhabit darkness from the prison. I am Yahweh, that is my name. I will not give my glory to another, nor my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things have come to pass. Now I declare new things. Before they spring forth, I cause you to hear them. I think it's pretty obvious that this servant is not Israel. And it's not exactly Cyrus either. We could apply some of these things to Cyrus. But this servant is one who actually truly pleases God and has God's Spirit upon him. Hence he is gentle. He won't crush a broken reed. He won't extinguish a faint flame. That is, when we are in our deepest, darkest despair, he's not going to push us even further down. He brings justice, and he won't break under the pressure of that. Sounds an awful lot like Jesus to me. He is the servant who perfectly does the will of God. He brings justice to the world. Then we get another description of our God. He created the universe and the earth and filled them. And he tells us that he will give his servant as a gift to the nations, as a covenant to the nations. He opens the blind eyes. He brings prisoners out of dungeons. He brings people out of darkness into light. He will lead him by the hand just like he leads us. Of course, we know that Jesus is Yahweh in the flesh, and God makes it clear that his praise will not be given to graven images, to the false gods. He will not share his glory with anyone else, which is why Jesus has to be God, because the Father and Son do share glory. And then Yahweh reiterates that he tells us what happens before it happens, so that we may know that he is God. He had told them things before, and they came true. He's telling us new things now, and they will also come to pass. When Jesus came the first time, he fulfilled a lot of the messianic prophecies that had been around. But there were some that he left unfulfilled, and then he made some new ones too. I've heard some people say, well, wasn't the Messiah supposed to do this, that, and the other thing? And Jesus only did this and that, but not the other thing? Well, in some rabbinic thinking, there's two Messiahs. You've got the son of Joseph and the son of David. The son of Joseph was a suffering Messiah, a suffering servant. The son of David, a kingly Messiah, a kingly servant. Well, if they can have two different servants, why can't I have, or two different Messiahs, why can't I have one Messiah who comes twice and does the appropriate things each time? Makes sense to me. And so on this Mother's Day, what do we get from all that we've gone through so far? God is with us. He's our parent. We're his children. He holds us by the hand and leads us through things. If you're celebrating your mother today, or missing your mother today, wishing you were a mother, or for us men who cannot be mothers, if you have something else going on, and for the ladies too, if there's something else going on, God is with you. He's proven himself to be truly God. He sent us our Redeemer, Jesus Christ. And we need not worry about what's going to happen. It may not be fun. It may be terrible, painful, but it won't last. And he is there. He will guide us. He will bring us out of those dark places. So as we get ready to depart today, let us remember that God brings comfort to those who need it, as we talked about last week, and that he is truly with us when no one else is, when no one else can be. Unlike anything else that you may try to fill your life with, or any false gods or goddesses that you may in some way, shape, or form worship, even if you wouldn't necessarily put it that way. The things that we focus on more than God, things that we focus on instead of God, those are, in a way, gods and goddesses to us. So let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you today for our mothers, for we know that without our mothers we would not be here. You in your wisdom gave us both mothers and fathers. And in some situations, unfortunately, we end up with one or none, depending on the circumstances. Please be with us, Lord, whether we are celebrating our mothers, mourning the ability to even be a mother, or mourning in some other way. Remind us that you are near, that you are with us, that you are guiding us, and that you can help us get through this day. Thank you, Lord, for all you have done. It's in your name, Jesus, I pray. Amen.